What is up, Square Nation? Welcome back to No Counters, No Combos, and today I'm going to be showcasing the Turles deck profile for our most recent Battle Chamber video that we posted on the channel. If you guys are into this type of archetype, I definitely recommend trying it out, especially because yellow is very well positioned in the meta right now. There's a lot of good cards that you can use, and the Turles engine isn't really that big, so you do have a lot of space for those good yellow stuff type cards. But before we get started with the video, a couple shout outs. Obviously, your playmat. If you guys are interested in custom sleeves, custom mats, even custom foil playmats, feel free to use our coupon code in our LinkTree description below for 10% off of your order. Like I said, custom sleeves, custom playmats, they're really good. They're really good quality. Mine are still good, and I've had them for almost a year. I haven't had any splits or anything like that, and I waterfall shuffle constantly. And of course, as you can see, Deck Planet and TCG Player. Any of the cards that you see in today's video, feel free to check out TCG Player to purchase the singles. This deck is very cheap. You can even foil it out, and it won't be too expensive. Probably less than, $50 or $60 or so, minus a couple staples, of course. And Deck Planet, the best online deck builder that we have in the community. Shout out to those guys for doing the incredible work that they do and making sure they upload all of the new cards as early as possible so we can go ahead and get building. So without further ado, let's get into it. We have Turles on the front, permanent. If a Crusher Core card were to leave your battle area, and placed in the drop by one of your skills, you send to the warp. So basically, it allows you, or it doesn't allow you to use Successor, which is very similar to what we saw with the original Turles leader. That was green. Auto, when this card is placed in your leader area, you get to play one Tree of Might unison, which we'll go over with 2 markers on it. And when you attack, draw a card. The awakening condition is very different with this guy. You can awaken at your standard 4 or less and draw 2 cards, or if you have 3 or more life, face up. So we're going to want to turbo that as soon as possible. Before we get to the awakened side, let's go ahead and look at the Tree of Might Divine Roots. It is a 1-cost yellow unison, and it has a permanent that it can attack. It's 16k plus 1. If your leader card is a yellow Turles Crusher Core, at the start of your opponent's turn, you flip one of your cards in your life face up. -2, activate main. You can add up to 1 extra card with energy cost of 1 and Tree of Might in its original card name from your deck to your hand, and shuffle your deck. So you can search for your Double Strike Champa in this deck, as you can see posted here on the screen. And he does have an auto. If your leader card is a yellow Turles Crusher Core, when your leader card attacks, you may choose 1 Turles Crusher Core in your hand, add it to your life face up. If you do, choose 1 face-up Turles Crusher Core from your life in a combo. So you can go ahead and add 1 to life and then use that one directly in a combo because it's telling you to complete step 1 before you get step 2. But if you have Turles Crusher Cores face-up in life and you don't place 1, then you won't be able to get the effect off in combo. Plussing a marker on your opponent's turn is very nice because you're basically going to start the game off with 3 markers. Being a 16k unison, it is going to be a little more difficult for your opponent to deal with this, and it just kind of makes the deck go, which can be good because it turns on a couple of cards that we're going to go over very early, but it also can be bad because if for some reason your opponent is able to answer your unison, you have to go ahead and reestablish it, which we do have something that does that. So let's get to our awakened side here. We have Turles, Accursed Power, same permanent as before. Auto, when this card attacks, draw a card, very basic. And then activate Battle once per turn, Spirit Boost for 1 and a yellow. So you have to remove a marker and pay yellow energy. You can choose 1. If you have 2 or more face-up cards in your life, he gets 1,000 power for the battle, 10,000 power for the battle. Or you may choose 1 Fruit of the Tree of Might in your hand, discard it. If you do, you can activate its activate battle skill without paying its cost. So for a marker off your unison and a yellow energy, you basically bypass the fruit's condition of your opponent having to flip a life face down, and of course you don't have to pay that 1 restricted green energy, which is nice because it gives you a searchable Champa that at any point in the game you can get off, and your unison does stay pretty healthy with the amount of markers that it can accrue throughout the game, so that is really nice. We went over the roots. Let's go over Die's Power of the Tree. This is the only way to get your tree back if it leaves your battle area or if it's removed for some reason. We're only playing 1 of. He's not that great. He does have barrier, which is nice. And he has a permanent. If this card's in rest mode, your opponent can't attack the tree, which is not too bad. But the only reason I don't play multiples of him is because he doesn't have a come into play ability when he's comboed off life. But he does have an activate main limit 1 for 1 yellow. If your leader card is a Turles Crusher Core card, you can play this card from your hand. Then you can play 1 Tree of Might Divine Roots from deck or drop. with a marker on it, and then shuffle if you look through your deck. So it's a way of recurring your tree from the drop area, like I said, if your opponent deals with it, or if you want to go ahead and get one out. Now, the nice thing about it is you do have to pay a yellow energy, but it doesn't restrict you to playing the yellow leader. So if you wanted to try to get cute and do some type of green-yellow shenanigans with the original Turles leader, by all means, try it out, but you're not going to get too much benefits from doing that. So we do play 1 dies for the Tree of Might recursion. We're playing 4 Cacao, as you can see on the screen here. He's just your basic 15k attacker, auto. At the end of the battle in which this card is used in a combo, you could play this card from your drop, then you flip one of your lives face up. So it's a way of turboing your Awaken. You kind of want to go second with this leader, because your opponent will start the game and you'll automatically have 3 markers on your Unison and a face-up life. And it's just going to allow you to just kind of get to where you need to be quicker than you normally would. And Cacao is good because he helps you flip your life. So if you're going second, you're already starting with a life face up. You're playing Cacao. Hopefully you're playing Cacao turn 1 to flip another one's face up. And then when your opponent starts their turn, you'll have 3 lives face up. You can go ahead and Awaken with 8 life. It's not too bad, especially because he's a draw 2, so you do get a lot of hand advantage. And the nifty part about having your life face up when you're getting attacked is you can obviously pick and choose which life you add to your hand. So it's pretty neat. And then activate main, choose 1 Tree of Might Divine Roots in your Unison area, place this card under it, and add a marker. So it's nice to keep your Unison very healthy. The best Crusher Core, in my opinion, is Amun. Power of the Tree, auto. At the end of the battle, if he's comboed from life, you get to play him from your drop. All of the Crusher Cores that I play, the main ones, they have that skill, so you're just kind of going to see that throughout the profile. And that's what kind of makes this deck go. Auto Spirit Boost 1, so remove a marker from your Unison. When this card is played, you can choose one of your opponent's battle cards 4 or less in rest mode and KO it. So it's nice. Some spot removal 4 or less, not too bad, especially because you can do this as early as turn 1. Not that your opponent's going to have anything, but you know, it kind of helps you get rid of any problematic cards that don't have barrier on your opponent's side of the board. We are playing 3 Raisins and 3 Peanuts, or Lacacy, whatever you want to call them. They tag out, they get each other, basically, when they're comboed. Raisin is a blocker, so when he's comboed off of the leader skill and play, you can play him as a blocker, and then you can go ahead and grab Peanut from the deck in rest mode. So Peanut comes in rest mode, but Raisin will come in active mode off of Peanut. So they kind of, you know, are what's the word I'm looking for? Interchangeable, but not really. I think Peanut is the better one, because if Peanut is played off of combo, he's played in active mode, and then he grabs Raisin from the deck in active mode. So you have 2 active battle cards. And then Peanut also has the skill where when he's played, you can choose 1 card in your life and add it to your hand. Doesn't have to be face up. If you don't want to add a face up card, you don't have to, but you can if you choose to do so. So that's pretty much it for like the main Crusher Core engine. Like I said, it's not that big. Obviously, there are some glaring cards that I'm missing. I'm not playing All Too Easies. I'm not playing Steadfast Assistance. Those are cards that are a little more pricey. This is more of like a budget build. So if you guys are looking for some, you know, expensive upgrades, by all means, those are definitely cards you're going to want to play. We're playing 2 Frieza Army Reinforcements. Self-explanatory. It's a very good negate. This deck is very energy efficient. There's going to be turns where you actually don't do anything with your energy because most of your plays are free. So even tapping 2 for Frieza Army is not that bad, because you'll negate an attack and get a blocker. But he's a good way of also putting yourself down from 5 to 4 to activate your super combos. We're playing 1 Forbidden Power. I would, in a perfect world, I would probably want to play more of this, but I was just kind of testing it out to see. You know, we'll go over it now as well. You know, the difference between Forbidden Power and Nimbus, just to kind of see which one I prefer. Forbidden Power is 100 times better. Simply because it shuts off the opponent from attacking, period. It doesn't restrict. They basically can only attack with a battle card. So if you know, if you activate this, then they only can attack with 1 more battle card, and that's it. Like Nimbus basically says they can only attack with 1 more battle card, but they can still attack with their Unisons or their leaders. So it's kind of one of those things where, you kind of pick and choose and see which one you prefer. But in my opinion, Forbidden Power is just way better. And then it also has an activate battle for 1 yellow. If your leader card is yellow and it's your turn, you can choose one of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, and switch it to rest mode. And then one of your yellow cards gets plus 10k for the battle. So that's not too bad because it has somewhat barrier removal. Like if you want to run something over and you know that 10k boost is going to help, you got to get it in rest mode and try to run it over. So that isn't too bad. 3 power for Super Saiyan, self-explanatory. It's probably the best yellow extra card in the game right now. 2 Nimbus, like we said. We're also playing 2 Altering the Future Unisons. If for some reason my tree gets knocked off late, like I said, this deck doesn't really do too much with its energy, and this Unison is just, he does so much. For 3 energies, a dual attacker, you can +0 to switch a card to rest mode, and then if it's 4 or less, you can negate its skills and KO it, which is nice. And then -3, you can draw a card and then KO all your opponent's battle cards in rest mode, so it's a mini board wipe. Obviously, if they don't have barrier. So I just like having that backup, especially because I do have some spirit boost skills in the deck that I want to utilize late game. 2 Swift Retaliation Cooler. I mean, it's a counter in yellow, and it's kind of dumb in this deck because, like I said, you're going to have the energy up to play it. I'm playing 4 Exceptional Ability Pan. This is a tech choice here. You do start off with a Unison early game, so you don't have to invest energy to play it. So this is a good turn 1 play. Like if you're going first, you can go ahead and start the game off with your Unison, play Pan, draw a card, and now you have a blocker to protect your Unison on defense. It's just a nice cantrip for a deck that doesn't draw a lot on its own. Like it needs some outside support to draw cards. So I don't mind playing her because she has 2 different functions in the deck. Secret ID, board removal in yellow is always crucial. You could swap him out with Fighting Against Fates, depending on what your preference is. In yellow, I tend to go more for the removal, whereas other decks that are good at controlling the board, I'll tend to go with Fighting Against Fates for a finisher. 2 Poutine. This card is disgusting. I don't care what anybody says. It probably should be banned, but that's a discussion that you guys can have amongst yourselves, or you can check out our podcast that me and my buddy Matt did when we went into depth about what we think should and or should not be touched on the ban list. But basically, when one of your opponent's cards is switched to rest mode, you can play her for free from your hand, and then if your opponent plays a battle card with a skill, it would come in rest mode. Or if your opponent activates a counter, you can choose one of their battle cards and switch it to rest mode. Just another thing, yellow's just so good at switching cards to rest. And if they don't have barrier especially, you'll be able to KO it with some of your other skills. Super combo of choices, Krillin. It is a little difficult to get to 4. You have ways of doing it, defensively, or you could just go ahead and take life to you're at a comfortable total if you have a board state. But moments before comeback, the bottom deck draw 2 super combos are just really good because it digs for certain things. And there are cards that you want in the deck, like the fruit. You don't mind if the fruit is in the deck, like if you get it too early or you don't really need it, you can always bottom deck that and draw 2, and now you know that you have a target to fetch. So I prefer these super combos over anything. 2 Saiyan Instincts. I love this card. This card is bananas. I didn't have this card for the longest time, and now I realize why it's such a great card, especially with these decks nowadays that are so energy efficient that they're not doing too much progressively with their energy. Tapping 2 to draw 2 is just great, especially, like I said, in a color that doesn't really draw on its own inherently. 1 fruit. This is your Champa. I mean, you could play more than 1, of course you can, but I don't really think you need to. I never even have activated this skill to search it off the Unison. I've always drawn it at some point, and I've just held on to it. The 20k is nice on the Turles. The Double Strike is nice on the Turles. So basically, Turles, Fruit, and Cooler, if your opponent's at 2, is going to be game, because then you can just shotgun. Best card in the deck, by far, Return of the Dragon Fist. This guy is disgusting. I mean, Deflect Double Strike already is good. 25k, but then when he's played, you could choose 2 of your opponent's rested battle cards and KO them. You can play him for 3 if you have 4 or more energy and a yellow Unison in play, so that's great. And then activate main once per turn, Spirit Boost 2, so you remove 2 markers from your Unison, and you give it dual attack, and also your opponent can't activate skills on battle cards with cost 7 or less. So no super combos, no like body counters or anything like that. So it is what a yellow finisher should be. Being able to cheat it in off of a Unison is nice, especially because he is an 8-drop. I mean, he does have deflect, so he's going to hit the board regardless, but he doesn't have barrier. So if your opponent has an answer for him, you got to be careful with that. But he is a great finisher, in my opinion. 1 Bergamo, First Restore, self-explanatory. You're resting stuff. It's a one-of for a reason. You play Bergamo. He's just really good. 4 Prideful Transformations. This is a flex spot. If you have Steadfast Assistance and you're playing a heavy amount of extra cards, that obviously makes sense. But I wanted to try out Prideful Transformation because it's not seeing a lot of play right now. And the benefits of this deck is you start off turn 0 with a unison with 2 markers. So your counterplays are live as early as you start the game. And he's not bad. He is a blocker, so he does have some added defense there as well. He didn't do too well in my matchup that you guys saw in the Battle Chamber just because of Planet. But for the most part, I do like this counterplay. I think he's a very good card. And I think if you can get more sticky yellow unisons like that, he'll see more play. And last but not least, this lone Son Goku, A Gift from the Earth. You know, this is my 50th card. I just needed a one-of. He's really... This card could have been so good, in my opinion. But he's not. Deflect Blocker's not bad. 20k stat line is not bad. 5-drop with restricted 2 yellow is not bad. And then for each marker on a unison, reduce this cost by 1. So you could play him for 2. That's not bad. What's bad is his activate main. And his 2 activate mains are, questionable, or sus, as people like to say nowadays. Once per turn, you can choose one of your opponent's unisons with 3 or more markers on it. And then when you remove markers from a card using this card's Spirit Boost skill this turn, you can remove that many markers from the chosen card as well. So basically, your opponent has to have a unison in play with 3 markers in order for you to even contemplate activating this skill, which is why I'm only playing him at 1. Just because it's going to be so situational. And then his other activate main is limit 1, Spirit Boost 2. So not only do you have to target an opponent's unison with 3 markers, you have to remove 2 markers off of your own unison. And then you choose an opponent's battle card where energy costs 4 or less in rest mode and KO it. Not bad. And then he gets 5k for the turn, so he'll be a 25k attacker with double strike for the turn. So this is why I think he could have been a lot better if he didn't have the limit 1 on his activate main. Because if he could continue to get bigger and ensure himself a big, like a big number with that double strike, that could have been pretty intense. Obviously, Spirit Boost 2 is a lot, but the way the tree gains markers and the way that you have to continue to put markers on the tree, it's not impossible. But in my opinion, this guy is just kind of meh. I mean, I just threw him in there. I said he was my 50th card. I ended up pulling one out of a pack, so it's one of the SRs that I have in the deck. But, I mean, he's kind of sneaky. Like, if your opponent's playing a unison with 3 markers, and you could just play him, and then you would remove the 2 markers when you Spirit Boost. So you would bring your opponent's unison down from 3 to 2. From 3 to 1, sorry. And then you can kind of just go ahead and go into him with double strike. But the reason I would have liked for him not to have the limit 1 is because if your opponent has a unison with 4 markers on it and you don't have that limit 1, you can go ahead and just Spirit Boost twice for 4 markers. He becomes a 30k double striker, and you just killed your opponent's unison. So it kind of becomes more of a finisher, especially with unisons that are either big, like Boo, or that just get markers very quickly. So that's just something that I would have changed. Like I said, this is a very budget build. You could probably build this for around $50. The power of a Super Saiyans are probably going to cost you a little bit of money. And now the Dragon Fists are probably like floating around $8 to $10. But I'm not sure about the Prideful Transformations because they are set 10 SR counterplays, and we just did get the second wave of Rise of the Unison Warrior. So that's pretty much it. I mean, this was the deck that I took to my locals. I had a lot of fun playing it. It is watered down or worse King Piccolo because you can't use Turles' combo effect defensively, which I think it hurts the deck a little bit because you can really only do it offensively. If you can kind of interact on both turns, I think he would have been a lot better. I think Bandai really looked at King Piccolo and they liked the idea that they put on paper, and they were just like, how can we do this again but not as good? And this is what happened. What the benefits of playing yellow is, of course, all of the good stuff that you get with it. But for the most part, it is a small enough engine to where you can include a lot of those good yellow cards. If they make a couple of more cards for this archetype, maybe some Turleses that you can combo into play. That would be nice. But for the most part, I wouldn't consider taking this to like a big event or anything like that. I think it's fine at the local level if you're just trying to, get jam some games in, because it is a lot of fun and it's nice being able to, kind of throw up the gotcha to your opponent because they're not going to be ready for it, because not too many people are going to be playing this deck. But I love Turles as a character. I love the Crusher Core, and you guys know I always like playing decks that are slightly off cuff. So that's pretty much it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Please hit the notification bell so you can stay up to date with everything No Counters, No Combos. We really do appreciate the support, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Be there or be squared.